Ethan Mitchell was halfway through his morning coffee when the knock came. He glanced at the clock, 7:43 a.m. on a Wednesday. Not the typical hour for visitors in Oak Ridge Estates, a neighborhood known for its rigid adherence to routine and decorum. In this community, where the grass was trimmed to precisely 2 inches and garbage cans were brought in within an hour of pickup, any deviation from the norm drew attention. And an unannounced knock, that was practically an alarm bell. With a sigh, Ethan set his chipped ceramic mug on the counter, the one that said "World's Okayest Brother," a gift from his younger sibling, Noah. He stretched his arms, feeling the faint pop of his shoulder blades, and crossed the polished hardwood floor toward the front door. The morning sun streamed in through the frosted glass panels, casting fractured rainbows on the entryway tiles. He squinted at the silhouette beyond the door, rigid posture, clipboard clutched like it contained nuclear launch codes. He knew before he opened it. Only one person in Oak Ridge carried herself with that much self-importance before 8 in the morning. Marjorie Langston, the self-appointed queen of the Oak Ridge Homeowners Association. Ethan pulled the door open with a resigned expression, and there she was, immaculate as always. Her iron-gray hair was sculpted into a bun, so tight it looked painful. Her beige cardigan was buttoned with mathematical precision, and the pearl earrings gleamed in the sunlight. She pursed her lips as though she had just tasted something sour, although Ethan was pretty sure that was just her resting expression. "We need to talk," she announced, her voice the auditory equivalent of fingernails on a chalkboard, polite on the surface, but sharp underneath. Ethan sighed, dragging a hand through his messy brown hair. "Marjorie, it's too early for whatever this is." She ignored him, which was standard operating procedure. Without preamble, she thrust a folded letter into his hand, her grip just shy of aggressive. "Your brother," she began, "is in violation of our HOA guidelines. If this continues, there will be consequences." Ethan unfolded the letter, his brow furrowing as he skimmed the typed words. His gaze caught on a particular sentence, and he had to read it twice before the absurdity truly landed. He choked back a laugh, but the grin broke through anyway. "Mr. Noah Mitchell has been seen repeatedly wearing unauthorized attire within the community," Ethan read aloud, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Specifically, military camouflage. This disrupts the visual harmony of the neighborhood and may be perceived as intimidating to other residents." He stared at her. "You're serious?" Marjorie's face was granite. "Very." Ethan leaned against the doorframe, shaking his head in disbelief. "You're telling me my brother, who just returned from serving in an active combat zone, can't wear camo in his own driveway?" Her nose twitched, an involuntary flicker of disdain. "It's not about him. It's about the rules. HOA policy clearly states that residents must maintain a neutral and non-disruptive aesthetic within community spaces." Ethan took a deep breath. He'd heard some ridiculous things from this HOA before. Lawn ornaments banned because they clashed with holiday lights. A neighbor fined for using a front door wreath that was deemed too festive. But this was next level. "Marjorie," he said slowly, rubbing his temples, "do you have any idea who my brother is?" "I don't care if he's the governor of the state," she snapped. "Rules are rules." Ethan nearly laughed at the irony, but he kept it in. Barely. Later that afternoon, Noah was in the backyard, standing over the grill like it was a tactical operation. He flipped steaks with military precision, his posture relaxed but alert. He had been back home for less than a week. After 15 months deployed overseas, he was trying to settle into a normal routine, catching up on sleep, reconnecting with family, and occasionally doing something as mundane as grilling on a warm afternoon. Ethan approached with the letter in hand. As soon as Noah saw his brother's face, his smile faded a notch. "What's up?" Ethan handed him the letter. "We got a problem." Noah read the contents silently. His expression remained unreadable for a long moment. Then he exhaled through his nose and handed it back. "They have a problem with me wearing camo," he said flatly. "Oh, it's not just the camo," Ethan replied, struggling to suppress a grin. "Apparently, you're disrupting the visual harmony of Oak Ridge Estates." Noah tilted his head slightly, as though waiting for the punchline. When none came, he simply nodded once. All right. Ethan narrowed his eyes. All right. That's it. A slow smirk spread across Noah's face. I'm going to have fun with this. Before Ethan could ask what that meant, the answer arrived in the form of Marjorie Langston herself, marching across the yard with military precision of her own. Her heels clicked like gunshots on the cobblestone path. You received the letter, she said, her tone sharp enough to cut steel. Noah, still holding the barbecue tongs like they were part of his combat gear, regarded her with a mild curiosity. That I did. Marjorie straightened her spine further, if that was even possible. I expect you to comply immediately. Noah turned back to the grill, flipping his steak with meticulous care. That's funny, he mused, because I don't recall enlisting under the Oak Ridge HOA. Ethan had to bite his lip to keep from laughing. Marjorie, however, was unamused. Her lips thinned to a line so narrow it could slice paper. This is a private, uniformed community, she snapped. We have standards. Noah finally turned to look at her directly. His gaze was level, his tone even. Yes, Commander Langston, he said, snapping to attention and offering a textbook salute. Ethan lost it. He turned away, shoulders shaking with silent laughter. Marjorie, predictably, did not appreciate the humor. Her face darkened, and she glared up at Noah. Despite his casual stance, radiated the controlled authority of someone used to commanding respect. This isn't a joke, she hissed. Noah scratched his chin, feigning deep thought. I don't know. It's kind of hilarious. Marjorie inhaled sharply, clearly struggling to maintain her composure. If you do not comply, we will have no choice but to issue fines. Noah's grin widened. What's the going rate for wearing pants these days? Ethan nearly collapsed on the patio chair. Marjorie, seething, pulled out her phone and snapped a photo of Noah, likely for her burgeoning dossier of HOA offenses, before spinning on her heel and storming off. As soon as she disappeared around the hedge, Ethan turned to his brother, still grinning. Dude, you have no idea how much I needed that. Noah chuckled, grabbing a plate for the steaks. She thinks she can out-regulate me. He shook his head. I've dealt with warlords who had more flexibility. Ethan wiped a tear from his eye. I can't wait to see what you do next. The next morning, Ethan found out. He stumbled into the bathroom, bleary-eyed, only to freeze in the doorway. Noah was standing at the mirror, brushing his teeth. But it wasn't the mundane act that caught Ethan's attention. It was Noah's outfit, full military fatigues, tactical boots polished to a mirror sheen. His unit patch was proudly displayed on his sleeve, and he wore his beret at a perfect angle. Ethan leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Really? Noah met his gaze in the mirror, toothbrush still in his mouth, and grinned. Oh, it's worn now. An hour later, Noah casually strolled out to check the mailbox, looking like he was about to lead an assault on enemy territory. A few neighbors peeked out from behind curtains. Some shook their heads in disapproval. Others were clearly entertained. And then there was Marjorie. She stood on her front porch, phone gripped tightly in her manicured hands, ready to document what she no doubt considered a gross violation of Oak Ridge decorum. She marched across the street, heels clicking with renewed fury. This is an escalation, she declared. Noah turned as if just now noticing her. I thought we were enforcing dress codes. Marjorie's eye twitched. This is not funny. I agree, Noah said solemnly. Dress code violations are a serious matter. Her face turned an alarming shade of crimson. You think you can mock the HOA? Noah's smile was lazy, almost bored. I don't think, ma'am. I know. At this point, Ethan had given up trying to contain his laughter. Marjorie, trembling with barely contained rage, lifted her phone once again. I'm documenting this. Noah snapped to attention. Make sure you get my good side. It was the last straw. Marjorie spun on her heel, storming back to her house, furiously typing into her phone, likely drafting a new amendment to the HOA handbook outlawing military attire entirely. Ethan shook his head. You're playing a dangerous game. Noah chuckled. You say dangerous. I say entertaining.